Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden and today we're doing another top 10, but it's not a top 10 budget cars. It's not a vlog. It's not drifting. It's not a good, bad, and ugly. It's none of that, baby. Alright, today we're doing 10 mistakes that new car guys make in the car community. Now listen guys, before we get into it, I want to explain to you that even though I'm going to go over these 10 mistakes and it might steer you away from cars and you might be like, well that's a lot of stuff that I don't want to have to deal with that. Cars are still a blast. And cars are still one of the best hobbies out there, in my opinion. There are some mistakes that we all made as kids, and that's what we're going to be going over today in this video. Really quick though, guys, if you want to buy some hats, shirts, or shorts to support the channel, www.smoothstance.com/shop. I really appreciate it. Let's get right into the video. Alright, so number 10 is thinking that because a car is louder, it's faster or better. Most of the time, when us car enthusiasts hear a loud car, us seasoned car enthusiasts at least, you can kind of tell if it's going to be a beater that just has a hole in the muffler versus like a really cool car with like a full exhaust. But new car enthusiasts, they hear a loud car and they look right away, they break their necks, and they often get disappointed because they're going to find out it's just like a friggin' Chevy Astro van with a rusted out exhaust, and they're going to get pretty sad at that. And it makes sense. I mean, you're going to hear a loud vehicle and you kind of, generalize any loud thing as a cool car. You're going to look at it and be like, oh, something's different about that car than a normal car. Even I still look at loud cars, even though I know they're about to be a just terrible car, just because I want to see what it is. Like, oh, what is that hunk of junk driving by me? And so you're going to look at them, and when you look at it and it's just a boring pile of junk, you're going to be like, oh man, what in God's name was that? And the reason that this is because you guys haven't quite yet figured out the difference between the two of them. Most of the time, those cool cars that you drive by you and they sound amazing, they have full exhaust systems that cost the owner a ton of money and time to get that perfect one, and they can tell the difference, but you might not be able to, because they hear that exhaust every day compared to the other exhausts that are driving down the road. So yeah, when you think about it, when you hear them at two different times, they sound kind of similar. They're both just loud exhausts. But then when you actually, put them next to each other, you're like, wow, this is completely different. This car sounds terrible compared to this car, which sounds actually amazing. Number 9 is thinking that Nitrous is going to give you some massive speed boost. Now, don't get me wrong, Nitrous for sure can help with gaining speed. It is a great way to get some easy horsepower out of your car. But you also have to realize that it's nothing like in the video games or movies out there. And I mean nothing. It's completely fabricated. It's completely different in real life than what it is in the movies. First off, the car doesn't shoot blue flames out of the back of the exhaust when you engage Nitrous. Alright, the only reason a car will ever shoot flames is anti-lag, or if they get the car tuned to have more fuel being pumped into the engine than air, because then it's just too rich and there's fuel in the exhaust, and so it's lighting the fuel on fire. Besides that though, it's not going to be spitting flames because it's a freaking has nitrous. Second is nitrous doesn't just like fill up over time. You have to pay to get nitrous refilled. So you do one run using a quarter of your nitrous, you got 3 runs left. And most importantly though with nitrous is not every car can just be equipped with nitrous from the start to make an extra 100 horsepower. Alright? Your engine has to be able to handle that sudden jump of power. So most of the cars that are running nitrous are already cars with built engines or engines that can handle a lot of horsepower that are running like 500 horsepower or more, and they're just using it to get a little bit extra speed. If you buy yourself a Toyota Camry and you slap 100 shot of nitrous in it, that's probably not the best idea. Number 8 is kind of like the exhaust one that we just went over. It is the bigger the engine, the better it is. This one is kind of tough because in hindsight, yes, a V8 should be able to make more horsepower than an inline 4. I mean, it has more space, more cylinders to push more fuel and air, right? That makes sense. Like, why wouldn't it be able to run more fuel and air? V8s and larger engines are typically more expensive to build than an inline 4. That's the big one. Yeah, you can buy an LS and swap it into a, well, I was about to say swap it into a Corvette, but they come with LSs. So you can buy a Corvette with an LS, turbocharge it, build the engine, and you can make over 1,000 horsepower. Sure, that's something that a lot of people do, right? But it also costs a ton of money. That's the reason why everybody loves these Honda Civics, because you can get 600 horsepower out of a Civic for less than $5,000. They're extremely the better budget option. But when you want to get to the huge numbers, that's usually when people buy the bigger engines that can handle all that power. Yes, but that's also going to, like I said, cost a ton and I mean a ton. On top of that, some motors are built to be built, if that makes any sense. Like an LS1 is a great engine that is built to perform very well, but so is a K24, which is an inline 4. And there are plenty of inline 4s and V8s that are strictly built for daily driving, and they cannot make some serious power at all, no matter what you do to them. So no, just because an engine is larger, it doesn't mean that it can make more power. The 2JZ GTE is the perfect example of that. The Nissan GTR's engine, I don't know what it's called, is a perfect example of that. Number 7 is ignoring noises that you don't think are serious. Listen, I get it. You just got your car, you don't want to be spending money on some boring repairs, and you'd rather buy a turbo or a body kit for your car, but unfortunately, everybody on this green earth has to repair their car when it needs it. It sucks, but in the long run, you're going to be thanking yourself when you're going around a corner and your tie rod doesn't decide to snap in half because you replaced it months ago. You're gonna love that. You're gonna thank yourself for not wrapping yourself around a tree because you decided you didn't want to spend the extra money on struts and you'd rather just wait until you have enough money to buy coilovers. You're gonna thank yourself for that. Also, if you really want to modify your car, then when you replace that broken part, when you have a part in your car that's broken and you get it diagnosed and you figure out what's wrong with it, replace it with an aftermarket part. That way, not only are you fixing the car, you're making it more safe for you to drive, but you're still upgrading it. You're still going to do something that's going to make it a little bit cooler or faster or better around the track. And so that way you get the best of both worlds. Repairing your car when it needs basic maintenance is also a great way for you to learn your car and the basics of actually working on one. Number 6 is little fender benders or little bumps and dings, which just like small little accidents that they happen in like a parking lot or at a red light. Like you're looking down at your phone or something and you just misjudge your braking zone because you're a new driver, which happens. We've all had one before. Mine, don't tell anybody I said this, but it's backing into somebody's mailbox. I did not tell the guy I did that, so I guess I'm illegal, but just saying that happened. It's bound to happen, but it really isn't that big of a deal. Just be careful of other people and you're going to be fine. Yes, backing yourself into your own mailbox or even your neighbor's mailbox, if they understand, you can just go over there and be like, listen, man, bumped into your mailbox. I'm sorry. They're gonna be okay with it. That's one thing. But if you're driving around in a freaking parking lot and there's a child walking across and you bump into him, that's a big deal. So be a little bit careful around those areas. If it makes it any easier, then I highly recommend, first of all, in a parking lot, to not park in a busy area. Park far away. Take your damn time, all right? You're young. You can walk the extra 10 minutes or not 10 minutes, the extra minute or two to the grocery store, okay? It's not that big a deal. Also, when backing up, because yes, people might look at you like a little bit of a weirdo, but you're just saving yourself the trouble. And plus, you're a car guy. You got to get used to people giving you dirty looks anyway. Number 5 kind of goes with the last one. It's about like actually driving the car, and it's oversteer / understeer. Let's face it, you probably bought a car that's way more fun than your average car as your first car because you're a car guy. And if you didn't, you're still probably driving that 99 Camry like it's a GT3 RS. So you're gonna want to experience some form of racing on any sort of, track, which isn't actually a track and it's just your back roads. And you're gonna experience oversteer and understeer. And before you think, no, I'm just gonna be a better driver than you, Mark, even F1 drivers still experience small bumps of oversteer and understeer. They just expect it now and they don't panic. They have it under control. So it looks easy. It looks like they're not actually experiencing it. They do though. They experience it all the time. They're just better at controlling it. But if you're going around a tight corner and you hit some wet leaves or a sand patch, your car might want to kick out on you. And the best advice that I have to give you, and trust me, I know this is going to sound dumb. I tried to find the best way to word it, but I just couldn't. I don't know how to really explain it. But in the moment, it's going to be hard to remember as well, but straighten the car out without overcorrecting. What I mean is, like, don't like whip the wheel in the other direction because the car is gonna want to grip up and it's going to over rotate. If you're sliding out to the right and you whip the wheel to the left, then your car is just going to keep going to the left and it's not gonna, the car wants to correct itself is what I'm trying to say. So give it that little push to correct it, but don't go overboard because then it's going to keep spinning around the other direction and you're going to lose control. It's harder, it's easier said than done, I know, but it's the best way to make sure that you're going to stay safe if you're ever spinning out. Numero 4 is calling a car by its wrong make or model. Even freaking seasoned master veterans in the car community still do this. Listen, my dad has been working on cars for 20 years now, and actually more. He's 50 and he's been working on them since he's been like 25, so like 25 years, and he still can't tell the difference between a 370Z from a 370Z to a 350Z is what I was trying to say. But that's because it's impossible to know every single car out there, so don't feel ashamed when you get one wrong. If someone corrects you, which they will, especially now on the internet, everybody's all like, you're an idiot, you got that wrong. If they correct you, just listen, unless you know you're 100% right. Like if somebody told me my car is a 370Z, I would obviously argue that because I know I have a 350Z. But if somebody told me that that Volkswagen I just saw was a Golf R and not a GTI, then I'd most likely believe them because I don't know much about the GTI Volkswagen family and I don't know how to tell the difference. It's okay to be wrong is what I'm saying. You constantly learn from each other in the car community, so don't don't be stubborn. Everybody out there is still teaching each other different things. That's how most of the people around here in the car community learn what they learn. Yes, my dad has been working on cars for 25 years now, but even he learned from a guy named John. You learn things. Number 3 is thinking that cars are cheap. Listen, I hate to admit it, but I have to. All right, if you're a car guy and you're watching this right now and you're about to try and argue this, don't. We all know it's true. Our hobbies are one of the biggest wastes of money out there, all right? But we do not care because it makes us happy and it gives us something to work towards and it's awesome and we make a lot of friends from it and they look cool and they sound cool and they go fast. It's sick, all right? Our hobbies are awesome, but they're a waste of freaking money. Sometimes if you're coming into the car community and you have like $200 in your pocket thinking that you can build your car with that amount of money, you might be a little bit unhappy when you realize how expensive everything is. And that could also lead to you actually leaving the car community because you're just overwhelmed with the price of things and you think, wow, this is a waste of my money. I shouldn't be buying this stuff. I should be working towards a house or something. And yeah, you probably should. But if you stick around, then welcome to the car community. We're cool here together, I guess. If you're new to the car community, I'm about to hit you with the hard truth. It's very expensive and you're going to quickly get addicted to buying car parts, and cars are going to eat up your money, and it's going to be hard for you to save money for the more, basic things that you need in life that everybody else goes with. But if you're okay with that, then you'll be happy as hell, and cars are going to become a just huge part of your life, and you'll never be able to stop talking about them for the rest of your life pretty much. And it's awesome. But you just got to get over the fact that these cars are not cheap. All right, no matter how much different you think you're going to be than everybody else, trust me, I thought the same thing. I thought, I'm going to get this 350Z, but I'll just buy all the cheap parts. I'll be able to save my money that way. It's not true. Okay, it's not. Even the cheap parts are more expensive than you'd want to spend. Number 2 actually kind of goes with the last one, and it's buying cheap car parts. Now listen, for cosmetics, I don't care what you want to buy. If you want to buy that cheap $20 AutoZone hood scoop and slap it on your Dodge Dart, go for it. I do not care. It's completely up to you, and they don't actually change anything. And it's not going to actually destroy your car, but it's the actual performance mods that you don't want to cheap out on. Most of these performance mods that you're going to buy are going to be crucial parts to your car. And so you don't want to buy like a $200 turbo unless you enjoy replacing turbos every 2 months. And like I said, it's not something that you can just forget about since it's going to blow up and your engine is just going to be bye-bye if you don't fix a turbo. It's something that you need to make sure is up to par and doing its job. Same with suspension parts and obviously your brakes. You don't want to be driving around and have your coilovers separate from the top hats. Just save your money and buy the better part because you're going to be able to save yourself some money in the long run that way anyway. And you're going to get a lot more out of those expensive parts. They're going to perform a lot better. Take it this way. When I bought my 350Z, it was in limp mode. And we ended up fixing the limp mode. That was just a dumb problem with the previous owner. He did some terrible wiring, but we won't talk about that. But then when I started driving it, I noticed another problem. At nighttime, it wouldn't go over 4,000 RPMs. It topped out at 90 miles an hour. Now a 350Z is capable of 150 miles an hour. It was topping out at 90. So I did some research. I tried digging into it, tried figuring out what happens. It turns out the guy bought taillights that costed $150, brand new. And those taillights had terrible LEDs in them and a terrible wiring, and it messes with the ECU and it will cut your power when you turn them on. So don't cheap out on parts like that are going to actually mess with your car's performance because it can really ruin your time and you're going to waste your money. And finally, number 1, first place. We're all guilty of it. It happens to the best of us. And even car guys today still do it. It's buying an undrivable car just because it looks cool. I mean, shit, you learn very fast in the car community that cars may look cool, but are in no means the best car to buy, okay? If you're going to buy your first car and you buy some freaking Toyota MR2 with a blown motor thinking, oh, it's no big deal, I'll just fix it myself and I'll be able to drive it in a week. Sure, it'll take some time, but I'll get it done. You're in for a very, and I mean very, unpleasant surprise. Buying a project car or a car that needs work is something that you do after you already have your first car. The reason being is because you learn your skills with your first car and you learn how much money you're actually going to be able to save and how much money you're making and how much it's going to actually cost you to build and replace these parts on this car. And then you finally can make your decision on what you can buy and what you can build up affordably without making yourself miserable. And this is something that you need to address before you even get your car, because like I said, if you buy some Toyota MR2 with a blown motor, not only are you going to have to spend a fortune fixing it, which you probably don't have at 16 years old, let's face it, but you also have to learn how to drive this death box of a car. Most of the cars we want to buy are rear-wheel drive or have high horsepower or are very dangerous cars to be daily driving. And especially for a 16-year-old. Yes, you can get away with buying a Honda Civic with high miles, but a 350Z that's in limp mode, an E46 that has no subframe, a Corvette that won't start, it's probably not a great idea, and it can very, very easily lead you away from the car community as a whole if that is going to be your first encounter with them, which we don't want. So just be smart about your first car. Yes, I know your dad is probably telling you, you shouldn't be buying that car, son, but he's most likely right, and he's probably just trying to save you the headaches because let's face it, he probably made the same mistake as you did. But that is the end of this video, guys. If I missed anything or if I got anything wrong, please let me know down in the comments. I had a blast making this video, but like, I always make mistakes, all right? I'm only human, man. I'm only human, and I'm just by myself. Like, I don't have somebody else writing my scripts for me. I do it myself, so I only know so much. I'm also only 21 years old, all right? So I'm still pretty new to the car community, but these are just some things that I picked up on. Someone just burped, and it wasn't me, though. I think it was some guy over there. He's burping. I don't know what he's doing. But anyway, guys, if you enjoyed, let me know in the comments if you want to see a video similar to this one or something else. Just let me know. Comment something that you want to see. I'd love to make anything that you guys want to see. I'll do it. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed, like, comment, and subscribe. And das Britannia, have a nice night.